Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the GeekAut podcast. Today is another very special episode because we have a guest. But before we get to them, let me introduce to you our regulars and, of course, myself. I'm Al, and I'm joined, as always, by Owen
Hi.
and, of course, Simone.
Hi.
And our very special guest today will be talking about what it's like to get diagnosed when you've reached adulthood, basically when you're older.
When you're
I'm
old, bro.
29.
You were really trying to put like a complicated spin on that one. It's just older. You just say when you're older.
But it's rude to say that.
I don't mind.
No, it's not
Anyway.
that rude. Because we're talking about younger, now we're talking about older. That's the theme.
All right. Well, here's Janneke. Hello, Janneke.
Hi.
So, Janneke, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, I can. I don't really know what to say though. I guess I finished gender studies at Utrecht University and wrote my thesis about disability and gaming, which is also still one of my interests at the moment. But because I also have a physical disability, I can't really work on that right now, so it's more of an interest, I guess.
Mhm.
And I'm Dutch, if you couldn't tell from my accent already. 29, I guess.
Yeah, and when did you get your diagnosis?
Only about half a year ago, actually. I had an ADHD diagnosis when I was 22, but it just didn't really fit. And it was, like when they tell you, oh yeah, girls can't have autism, you must have ADHD maybe. But probably borderline, that's how it went for me.
Oh no.
There was a lot of sexist stuff.
Did your psychologist tell you that? The people who took the tests?
No, actually, once I got to my psychologists, then it was fine. It was just that when I was a kid in primary school, I think I was 6 or 7, one of my teachers already said that he suspected that I might have either autism or ADHD or some kind of thing. And then the school psychologist or the person that they called in to evaluate that said, no, girls can't really have autism or ADHD. So they never evaluated it. And then when I was 22, I think I started university. And obviously that didn't go so well. Or obviously, I don't know, but for me it didn't go so well. So I sought help, and they first thought of ADHD because, I don't know, that's what came out of the test, but that didn't really fit. They weren't quite sure. And then later on I went back because my psychiatrist said it might be actually autism as well. Or actually my best friend suggested that because he got diagnosed when he was really young. And he recognized a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sadly, there's a lot of relatability in your story because we've talked about this before, I think, on the podcast, where there's this prejudice against people perceived as women that they can't be autistic for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really weird, and it's also because I guess as a kid I was really trained to not really show antisocial behavior, or I was passing really well. So I mean, I freaked out and stuff, but I learned how to make eye contact because I had to go on a social skills course when I was 12 because I couldn't make friends. And then you can make eye contact now. Everything's great. You don't have autism.
Oh.
'Cause
Wow.
that's how things work.
Yep.
This
They
is so
teach you
bad,
about
it's making
scientists, you
autistic-
become a
autistic
scientist.
people
That's all,
sarcastic.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
bad at math, so of course I can't be autistic.
Oh god, I've actually had someone tell me that. Like,
As a serious thing.
yes.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Yeah.
expectations on how to be autistic, and I guess because I didn't meet the stereotype, people just thought that I was a bit weird, but whatever.
So what was the initial reaction of your, your friends and your family when you got the diagnosis?
Well, I mean, my parents have been very supportive, but before I got the diagnosis, they told me that they didn't really think I was autistic because they didn't really see me as the typical, what you think of when you think of autism. But my friends, especially my best friend Sam, he got the autism diagnosis when he was, I think, quite young. I think like in primary school as well, and he actually told me also to get it looked at because I was doing he was the first person that I met that actually understood me and that I could be friends with without always feeling like I missed part of the conversation. So he was like, yeah, that's maybe a sign to get this checked out, And he has been very supportive, also in helping me finding ways to deal with all of stuff that I didn't really know what was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, because from my own experience, getting diagnosed at, I think I was 22, 23, is that it didn't so much change me who I was, because, it didn't, because you find out you're autistic and you've always been autistic your whole life.
Yeah.
But it just makes it easier to place why certain things happen the way they do, or why certain things are more difficult for you. So, what was your own reaction when you got the diagnosis?
Well, I was really upset, and I didn't expect to be, because I mean, I got ADHD, but somehow autism felt worse. I was suddenly really mentally challenged, which is nonsense, because I mean, I've been doing university and even then it's not as if that it should be a bad thing, that just means that I'm different in a way, I suppose. So it was really challenging for me to come to terms with being different or being labeled different again. But since then, it's actually been good because it helped me find ways to name behavior and understand what was happening. So, for example, I went to IKEA with my mom and I freaked out because it was really busy and there was noises and my mom was constantly asking questions and I wasn't quite sure and she wasn't doing, we were supposed to buy pillows, but suddenly I had to pick out a bed and I was like, I don't want a bed, I'm here for pillows, And I just... that stuff happened all the time and I never understood what was happening, but then I could tell my mom, okay, we need to step out. This is too much now. So in that sense it was really helpful, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense, because if you're told your whole life that, well, first of all, being told at such a young age that you can't be autistic because girls aren't autistic, that doesn't help.
No.
And the general stigma surrounding autism, with the whole, there's this new series called The Good Doctor, and it's like ugh, and and people making such a big deal about it, and autism speaks and all that kind of stuff. It's people who aren't autistic, people without a diagnosis, but who think they might be autistic. Even before they get a diagnosis, there's already so much misinformation and prejudice that it can be hard to get a diagnosis, because you might start thinking, well, I don't want to be like that, because there's all this negativity surrounding autism, and maybe you don't want to be seen like that either by your peers.
Yeah, but also I think for me at least, is that because I was always characterized as lazy, she's intelligent but lazy, or she's just being difficult, or she always wants attention when I was in fact overstimulated or something. That also made it really hard to then take that seriously when I went to see a psychiatrist or psychologist to get diagnosed, because I just thought, oh yeah, I'm making this up in my head, I'm just being dramatic about things,
Yeah. Oh, and Simone, does that sound relatable a bit?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I get told a lot that I'm not autistic. Well, I used to get told a lot. Less now, because I've been to places that kind of understand the situation that I'm in a lot more. So, I don't get that same... But there's still that white... I've been told at jobs before that I don't act autistic, because I'm not, antisocial or whatever it is. It's just like annoying a little bit, but like that's, I feel like the perception's a bit better than it was, say, a couple years ago, because people understand it a bit more, but not much more. Like there's still stuff that needs to be understood and done, but yeah, like, I can relate to that completely, because it's, especially in school, when they think you're capable, but then, you know, they don't understand. For me, when I was studying, I needed focus. And to get focus, I just needed a little bit of help. But if I don't put it out there, because I don't want to come off like embarrassing or anything, that I need somebody with me. And then especially when it came to like secondary school and stuff, I don't want people thinking that I'm not capable because I have somebody with me, or judging me because I've got somebody with me. Because I know people might go, oh, I study hard too, I don't have a support tutor or whatever. You know, that was the big thing at school, especially.
Did you get bullied for it as well? Or not? Or is that not something I should ask?
Sorry, say that again?
But did you get bullied as well? For...
It used to be worse at the start
Oh,
of primary.
I have stories
school.
about this when you're done. I have stories about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
sorry,
it
I didn't mean
used
to
to be
interrupt you.
like I had somebody for a while who'd like mock me and say autistic. Like there used to be somebody who'd just like tease me and say autistic, and then I realized that was kind of stupid, because what does that even mean? But I don't think people... I think I was more isolated to myself at one point, so they weren't picking on me as much. But then, like, there comes that point, especially in my secondary school, when people start being more polite to others. Like, it's, you know, like the movie Mean Girls, where everybody at the end kind of gets along, but not, like, they were not best friends or anything. Spoilers for a over 10-year-old movie. It's kind of like that, but it wasn't, you know,
Mean
Megan
Girl
like
is
that.
still
Like they're still, you know, those people aren't gonna invite me to their place. You know, like that's the bomb. Like they're gonna be nice to me, but they're not gonna be friends with me. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Simone, you had something to say about this?
Oh yeah. Do you want to know how I found out I was autistic?
Yes, please.
Of course.
By my sister calling me retarded.
Ugh.
Wow.
Basically, my mom had told because I have a twin sister who is not autistic, and my mom had told her first, and like my twin sister was the worst bully there ever was. She hated me for being autistic. She thought I was weird and disgusting. She would regularly call me disgusting, revolting, words like that.
Aww.
And yeah, so my sister was the biggest bully.
That's horrible.
I know. It is. I agree. Like thinking back on it, because me and my sister have a pretty good relationship now, but it's kind of strange knowing how incredibly cruel she was. Like how heartlessly cruel she was.
Has she ever apologized to you for it?
No. And she probably never will. And
She should.
she would regularly at one period of time tell me that she wished I was never born.
Ugh. Wow.
Yeah. I don't think she even remembers it, like all of the abuse all the things she did to me. I think she's forgotten most of it, or she's just like visually denying it. But yeah, she was. Yeah. I mean, I still love her, but like, she was terrible. And
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, because I remember exactly what happened when I found out I was autistic. It was we were playing The Sims, the first game, and we were arguing because it was my turn to get on the computer, and my sister said, "You're just like this because you're retarded." And it's like, what was retarded? I didn't know what that was. And my mom came out and said like, okay, I knew she couldn't shut up. Because basically I guess she had planned to wait and telling me. And the very same day, my sister like calls me retarded. So my sister was very bad at keeping a secret. But it's like, I just remember how petty we were being. We were being petty children arguing about the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when she insulted me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's also kind of a hard way to find out.
It was. Like, I was in shock when my mom eventually told me what it was, quote unquote, wrong with me. I was like, I just fell to the floor because but I also remember that I was in so much shock that I fell to the floor on purpose because I didn't know how to react. So I thought, well, this is probably how people should react. So I'm going to react like that. So I remember that, like, because I was in so much shock that I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. I mean,
Couldn't
it's a
blame you
totally
for that.
different story. But I also was very shocked, like until the end of the diagnosis, and even though I went to find out for myself, I was so scared of what the outcome might be that either I wasn't autistic and then I was, what was wrong with me then? Then I had all these behaviors that I was just being dramatic or something, or I would be autistic and then I don't know what I would want to, like, then maybe I'm crazy or something. So I didn't know how to react when I heard the news because I was relieved, but at the same time I was also in shock. I also just froze. Didn't fall, but...
So Janneke, what was the way for you to cope with getting the diagnosis?
A lot of alcohol.
Oh.
That's horrible, I know, but...
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think we can recommend that.
No, definitely not.
Drinking alcohol is not a constructive way to deal with getting an autism diagnosis.
No, definitely not.
Okay, proceed.
Please don't do the same way. Like, in hindsight, I probably, because I was really shocked and I wasn't quite sure what to do, and I didn't know how to reach out for help at that time either, because my best friend used to live in the same building as me, so I would just go to him. But he moved to a different city recently, so I couldn't just go see him, so I didn't know what to do. And I have a boyfriend at the moment, and he is very neurotypical, so he tries to be really supportive, like he's really a great person, but he doesn't really know what to do either, so that wasn't really a good support system either, so I just drank to kind of stop my head working, but and I still haven't found out how to really be deal with it constructively, to be honest.
Well, you know us now.
People, so we can help you.
Yes, we can help you.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think last podcast, right, I asked a question about how to sort of like wind down, and that's one of the things that I still have a lot of difficulty with, because all of the things that I do to calm down also have a lot of input. So that sometimes just makes me back to very anxious state. Yeah. And then, but then lying in bed, and I mean, I still have the ADHD diagnosis as well, like lying in bed or being really quiet doesn't help either. So it's really weird. But maybe you have some experience with that as well, Simone. Or at least I remember that you had ADHD or ADD diagnosis as well.
I do as well. And you know what? I don't know how to wind down either. Well, for me, I have medications. That really helps. Like, the second I am without medication, I get really bad. Like, I can't even sleep. Like, I'm just like lying with my eyes just clear open and can't sleep.
Yeah.
But otherwise, well, what I try to do is that I since I have, if I translate it from Swedish, it's called exhaustion depression.
Yeah.
Like, I because I became so exhausted in school that I basically hit a wall, like a mental wall, and just ever since then I know that I can't take on too much responsibility or I'm going to collapse.
Yeah.
Like, I begin this sort of workaholic bad spiral So I'm very careful. Like, I always have to work on all the musts I put on myself. Like, I think I've talked on the show before that I have this obsession with wanting to become famous for no reason whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And like stuff like that. So if I write like say an article, all I'm thinking is, okay, how many retweets is this going to get? And I have to stop myself and say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because if you begin that spiral, you're going to spiral out of control.
Yeah. That's very hard. I mean, I have medication as well, but I only take them during the day because they keep me awake at night.
Oh yeah, that's typical for ADHD medication.
Yeah. So, but then that means that during the day I have some kind of focus, and it's actually much better now that I have the medication. But then at night it's horrible, and that's when I'm tired and everything comes in really loudly.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I do, because I have ADD and autism, and what I like to do to wind down is play a game or watch something that has rhythm to it, but is also very flashy. Like, there's this game called Amplitude.
Mm-hmm.
It's also on PS4, and what you do is basically you're in a spaceship, and there's a music track, and all of the bass, the drums, the guitar, the vocals are all different tracks, and you have to clear the tracks by shooting certain points. And when you do it, the tracks disappear for a while, and it starts playing on its own for a couple of moments. And what you do is basically you build up and maintain the different parts of the song, and there's a lot of lights and a lot of flashy stuff, but it's also predictable, because when you're on the guitar thing, the targets you have to shoot are matched with the notes the guitar hits. It's in the same rhythm, and because it's short, because it's only you play for as long as the song takes, it's like, okay, a lot of visual input, a lot of focus on one thing. You get to pour all of your anxieties into finishing the song, and when it's done, you hear a good song, and that's that.
Cool.
So that's what helps me. There's also this game, it's a bit older now, it's called Lumines. It's also on Steam, and it's like a puzzler, but you get these groups, these blocks of 4 individual blocks, basically like Tetris, but there's only 4 blocks, but there's 2 different colors on them, and when you create like a block of 4 of the same, it disappears. But then there's also like an overlap, so if 6 of the same are connected, that counts as 2 cubes, because there's overlap between the two. So you make combos, there's lots of music, there's lots of visual input, and the levels change a bit with different sounds and graphics, and it doesn't tax your computer at all. So that's also a thing. You can just jump in, get rid of all your anxiety, focus a bit, and then move on. That's what helps me, at least.
Oh yeah, I guess I have that with certain puzzle type games as well, and I also read a lot. Like when I'm really anxious, I just usually read Harry Potter, even though I've read them, I don't know, 200 times each probably, but that calms me down but I don't want to do it too often because I'm scared that it won't work anymore.
Well, speaking of reading, someone here is writing a book.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's me. No, I'm kidding.
No, I heard on the previous podcast, I think, already that it was Simone.
Damn, people listen to the show. Ugh.
You have at least one listener.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I have good news
yeah.
about my book. I
Oh?
showed it to my English teacher, and he said that in all his years as an English teacher, he has never read anything better from a student than that book.
Oh, I thought this was going to lead to, I've never read anything like this book. And it's like, it's like garbage. No.
No. And he said that because I have the highest level English you can have. And he said that what he expected from reading this book, I was far beyond what he expected.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's good stuff.
That's
Like-
amazing.
And he became so engrossed in the story that he forgot to check for faults. So he kind of just missed all the spelling errors and stuff. And like when I said it's, when I like a apostrophe, what do you call it? You know what I mean? You know, like when you say the abbreviation of it is instead of it's,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like he completely ignored that because he was so engrossed in the story.
That's
And so
awesome.
he had actually marked
That's good.
sentences.
Well, that's good.
He-
But
he
like,
f-
hopefully, he doesn't actually become your editor for the story. If he's gonna be engrossed in the story and he can't actually check anything.
But you
well,
can
he
just
wasn't
proofread it
supposed to
twice,
be
right?
the editor. Sorry, what?
He can just read it twice, once for the story and then once for the proofreading.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but it was amazing. Like he was kind of shocked in a way, like in a positive way, because he told me that he has never seen someone who grasped English language that well when English is their second language.
Cool.
Like most people are usually unable to write in English in the way I do because it's not your mother tongue. And it's like, yay!
Yeah, because there's a difference between, you know, knowing how to write something and actually feeling the language.
Yeah. Like,
But-
yeah.
It's
like one
sort
thing
of like
he,
sorry. It's sort of like the difference between speaking English and speaking English. Like, because you don't have to just learn, or like another language in general. You can't just like learn the language, because if you learn the language, that's fine. But then you have to understand how the people in that country or how the people who use that language say the things in that language. So like with English, it's a lot more difficult because there's like sarcasm and like the way people express a word, like a way people express something might not be their actual emotion at the time, which I guess is
Yeah.
like leads into difficulties about autism and stuff.
Exactly. This is also how I try to explain autism to friends that really have no idea.
Yeah.
Is like learning a new language, and then of course you can speak it, and people understand you, and you understand people. But you or at least this is how it feels for me. Sometimes I constantly have the feeling that I'm missing something. Like they mean
Yeah.
something else than what they're saying. And that's especially with learning a new language that
Yeah.
happens a lot until you learn how certain things are used.
Yeah, totally. And it's also kind of complex because it helps for Dutch people that the Dutch tend to be punctual. When you say you meet at 5:30, you meet at 5:30, and that's helpful. But sometimes when you say that, someone actually means, okay, we meet around 5:30. It could be 10 minutes before, it could be 10 minutes after.
Oh, the hell!
And I can't deal with that. If it's 5:30, it's 5:30.
I had to teach all of because my class from gender studies was very international. Like we were only 7 people, but all from different countries, and I really had to teach them. Like when we would arrange to meet, we would do Dutch time, which meant on the dot. Because when we said 5, they'd just show up at 7, and I'd be like, no. So we called it Dutch time. When you say 7, it's 7, and no other time.
Yeah.
So, but Simone, would you like it if Janneke read your story?
sure, you can read it if you want to.
I would love to. Obviously, I mean, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, you can. I'll link it to you after we're done recording.
Cool. I love to read
Awesome,
as well,
awesome.
so.
Yeah, that's awesome. People usually ask me since I write if I read a lot, and I usually have to say no, that I don't. And it's not because I don't want to, it's because after I got depression, my focus got worse.
Oh, sorry, my bunny is stuck her head.
Oh,
She's stuck.
what you say, your bunny is stuck?
Yeah, she has this. Sorry, she has this basket, wicker basket with hay in it, and she's stuck.
Oh no.
You have to go rescue your bunny?
Yeah, but I think my cord is long enough, so I'm just gonna walk. But it's really stupid.
Poor
Well,
rabbits.
This is a very
Rabbits have
special episode
Rabbits
With
have very
Bunny
small
rescuing
brains.
This is like an after-school special where like teaching bunnies how the neck get stuck. Get stuck, not stucks.
Hey,
So
come here.
when Janneke is finished rescuing their bunny, we can do the thing that we usually do at the start of the show.
Yeah,
by
what
asking-
the frick are you doing? Changing the format of the show all of a sudden because we got a guest in. Not how that works, Al.
Well, I'm sorry. I apologize to any listeners I've upset by changing the
Yeah.
format a bit,
Apologize.
including the hosts.
Yeah.
Sorry, bunny rescue mission is done now. So.
Hooray.
Awesome. Okay, Owen, since you're so vocal, what have you been up to this week?
I'd say not a grand amount. I'm trying to figure my life out as per usual. I feel like I should say this now because it's been something I've been delaying on, but I need to get it all cemented and sorted out. I'm planning on leaving the course I'm on.
Okay.
Because, well, there's so many issues with it, and I'm not the only one to have some of the issues to do with organization and assignments and stuff being placed and all that stuff. I'm not the only person, but I feel like I've hit that point where I just can't cope with it anymore. And especially before Chris, like I've had stories, but I don't want to go into it because it'll take up the whole show. But there was a point.
I kind of missed what you said you were leaving.
Oh, I'm leaving. The course I was on,
Programming
I
course.
discussed it was the web development course. So it was like building websites and things like that, and
Oh yeah.
programming. Yeah. And it was something I wanted to like. I still need to get that letters all sorted out and sent, but I hadn't said it for a couple of weeks, just because things weren't quite stable with that, and I don't feel bad about it because of just like the story I was about to tell. Essentially, I was talking to one of my teachers, and they were talking to because I was super stressed, and they were talking to me about the exams in January. That was when I was sick for most of January. And he asked me what I needed. Sorry, they asked me what I needed because I don't want to name anybody.
Mhm.
And I told him what I needed. I needed a separate room. I needed potentially a laptop because my handwriting's bad and this sort of thing. And this was like near Christmas. So I'd say about the 9th. It was the 20th because that's when our course ended, when the 20th was the last lesson. And he said to me, "Oh, I'm glad." Sorry. They said to me, "I'm glad you figured this all out. Glad you told me that before Christmas so I can get it sorted out for January." In January, my mum is playing my advocate for a bit. Hello, Mum, if you listen to this. She was being the person in between to help a bit and to have people understand. And she got an email. I didn't get this email. She got an email from the teacher that said that they were going to try and see what they could sort out tomorrow. Tomorrow was my first exam.
Oh
Yeah.
dear.
And it wasn't even they who did it. It wasn't even the teaching body who did it. It was my sister who happened to work at the conference center. And hello, Kate, if you're out listening. Thank you very much for that. And it just, like, that was the point where, like, I was always saying that I didn't really want to be there. But then that point, like, because luckily my mum was with me that day. So when she got the email, she was able to tell me. And if she didn't, like, if she wasn't there that day, I might not have heard about it until later on. Because my mum's a very busy person with her job and stuff. Or what she does for a living. And yeah, so if I didn't know about that, I would have, freaked out. I would not have any idea what was going on. Because I have to be very specific with my exams when I'm not comfortable in like a big hall of people. I lose focus because I'm always focusing on other stuff.
Mhm.
And my handwriting was bad and I didn't know anything. I barely learned anything in that course, I'll be honest. if you ask, I like the only thing I can remember off the top of my head is the difference between Java and JavaScript, and that's like simple enough for somebody on the course. But that was really it. Like I can't tell you about servers. I can't tell you about proper web design, linking. I just they're just not in my head. Like I've got work. I could do it in my spare time because I've got the documents to revise with, but like I've just left that. But on a higher note, I'm speaking to 2 charities now that help people with special needs find jobs in or improve themselves to find work in Ireland. So that's been really helpful to me.
That's good.
And outside of that, my friend was over last weekend. That was cool. And I played more Dragon Ball Fighters. That story mode is still good, as I talked about last time. And I finished all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Well, except Season 5's on TV, and I can't watch it because it's not on Netflix. And I don't want to bother with Channel 4's whatever, because I don't trust them. I don't trust all 4 whatever, and that's me. That's really it.
Okay, cool. And what about you, Simone?
Well, I haven't actually done much at all. I'm just going to school, and I did tell you what happened with the book. Oops. Besides that, I don't have anything new to share.
Okay. Just writing and getting praise from English teachers.
Yes,
Which is
I love
good
praise.
news, yeah.
Well, and for me, I got my grades back, aside from one test, but I know I've done it really well, and I didn't get any negative grades this year, only good ones, so that makes me happy
Nice.
this period. I'm still working on my essay on how Cleopatra is portrayed in visual arts, so that's pretty cool.
Very nice.
Still pretty, how do I say it, broad, I should say, because I wanted to do everything all the time, and I even had this idea that I wanted to compare the portrayal of Cleopatra compared to archaeological discoveries of Cleopatra, like have 2 timelines go together, but that's more something to, get a PhD in than an essay for high school, so, I'm no longer doing that.
Yeah.
Because I sometimes have problems with scope, and that's something I really need to take into account and be like, okay, I shouldn't have to, analyze all the media ever, but, a general idea. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I've been playing Monster Hunter, which is a lot of fun.
I dived a
Yeah,
bit more
can
into Monster Hunter.
Yeah, and I also told Janneke about Monster Hunter, and there got excited too because I showed the cats.
Yeah, the cat. So cute.
And I'm also planning a big birthday party for Kim, which I can't talk about right now because she's in the room. But yeah,
How
It's
old
gonna
is
be
she
good.
getting?
she's gonna be 30, so it's gonna be,
A big
a bit
one.
of
The
a
big
milestone.
one.
Yeah,
It's one of the big ones. I don't know. Is this a tradition in I was gonna say Dutchland. In Sweden, there's a tradition that after you kind of pass 25, you tend to only celebrate even birthdays, like 30,
no, we
40. Do you do that in
No.
no?
we celebrate all the birthdays ever. If there's like an excuse to not go to work, we take it.
I think that would be for everybody, though.
Well, I always forget my birthday, so I forget to celebrate it. Sometimes, no, I don't forget my birthday, but I forget to make a party.
But
And then it's January.
just sometimes you just celebrate it, and it's like, fine.
The Dutch have this tradition when if there's like a holiday or special event like King's Day, which is April 27th, if it's on a Sunday, we move it to the Saturday.
Oh, so you get more free time.
Yeah, because officially it's like, oh, we should be, it's the day you go to church. But, unofficially, it's like, well, More time to party, less time to open
Didn't
the
they
shop.
do that last year? I'm thinking there was like a big news story about that or something. Or didn't you tell me that?
I think I told you last year that sometimes we have our Liberation Day, which is May 5th,
Okay.
and on May 4th we have our Memorial Day, like remembering
Hmm.
the victims of the Second World War. But if the Remembrance Day is on a Sunday, we move it to Saturday, because you can't, remember the dead on a Sunday.
Hmm.
You can't be quiet for 2 minutes on a Sunday. You have to do it on Saturday.
Really?
Yep.
I've never noticed.
Yeah.
What? I feel like a terrible Dutch person.
Don't worry,
It's-
so's
it's
Al.
mostly like
Ha ha ha.
it's
Ha ha ha.
well, I'd rather be terrible than above average.
No, always be above average. That's my life's motto.
So, by the way, Janneke, you told us that you got your master's degree in accessibility and gaming.
Well, that was my thesis, yes. My master's degree is in gender and ethnicity.
Ah, okay. Okay, cool.
And I did a
'Cause-
bachelor in political history and international relations.
Because I should tell you that 2 years ago at Nine Worlds, I moderated a panel on neuroaccessibility in games.
Cool.
Oh, and don't be rude.
But it's true though. You're just using it as an excuse to promote yourself. Like I did this
No, but
18 years
No, because-
ago.
Aw.
2 years ago. I'm not that old. No, because I wanted to ask you, and I think that because Simone, you do stuff with indie games, right?
I'm an indie game developer.
Indeed. And Janneke, would you like to be a return guest sometimes down the line, and then we can all have a chat about accessibility in
Yeah.
games? Because we talked about it previously, but you've done academics in it, so it should provide a good discussion.
Oh no, I would love to. It's actually one of my most, or my biggest interests in terms of like academics. So, yeah, I
Cool.
think there's a lot to be done there, or talk about, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a bit of a time, but could you tell us maybe, and we can maybe all tell a bit about accessibility issues we face in games? Because we have 15 minutes left.
Do you want me to start, or
Yeah, sure.
okay?
Give an example.
Well,
like.
like for me, mostly my accessibility issues are physical, and that's what I struggled about with my thesis as well. Is that it's really hard to translate neurodiversity into accessibility, or harder than say physical, because you can map. Because what I wrote about, for example, is mapping different controls or opening up a game so that it can be played differently, not just with hands but with feet, or that's what I was thinking about, and also how games can be used to as how do you call it, rehabilitation.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, and that would also work with social skills. So a part of, for me, was that I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft when I was younger, and that's how I made friends for the first time in my life. Because I just couldn't connect with people, but then over the internet and with people with the same interests and with stuff to talk about, because we could talk about the game and we all understood what we were talking about, and that's also what I wrote about, and what I wanted to work with more, is that it's not just because it's always sort of developed for really able-bodied and neurotypical people, and no one ever thinks about the impact that games can have on differently abled people, and I would like to be more inclusive, or to think about inclusivity, and not just that it becomes a story of me personally having experienced something good, but also it already being built in to a game, I suppose. And that's part representation, but also part controls and sound and subtitles, and not just audio cues but also visual cues and all these things.
Sure. And Simone, what's something you generally encounter in terms of accessibility in games?
Well, one thing we talk about when we're making games is that, for example, someone can have a disability that affects their movement in their hands. And when it starts to feel unfair is when a game is hard not because you're bad at it, but it's hard because you can't do the movements required of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not experienced enough with game development to know any solutions to this, but it's a very interesting topic. And I actually think it would take longer than just 15 minutes to talk about. But,
Yes.
but
Well,
yeah.
we can talk about it in the Return of Janneke episode.
Yeah, that might not be a
Ooh.
good idea.
Yeah. And you, Owen?
I don't think I really encountered that much as anybody else would. I'm trying to think. I was trying to think throughout this, and I can't really think of anything. I think it's only like I only get like not anxious, but I get like if somebody's not playing the game well deliberately, then that kind of annoys me. But that's not really a accessibility thing, or yeah, I'm trying to think of something. Maybe like the next time we talk about it, I'll have like something. But it's
Yeah.
yeah, I can't think of anything.
That's fine. I put you on the spot a bit.
No,
A
that's
bit.
fine.
Yep. What can be difficult for me, or what I've noticed with other people playing games, is that lots of there's lots of adaptability for controls, and you can turn off on or off stuff like mouse sensitivity, but on consoles you can't really adjust the sensitivity of the sticks. I mean, you can change like turn speed and stuff, but that's not really the same, you know.
Yeah.
So that's a thing that I think could be addressed more. And as far as I go, what can be difficult for me is when a game has a tutorial, but it immediately goes too in depth. It's like, okay, we're gonna hold your hand, but we're gonna also fill the screen with every information ever.
Oh, do you know what? Sorry. Yeah, I definitely agree with
Yeah.
that. I tried the
Yeah.
Final Fantasy Dissidia NT beta, and there's no tutorial mode. There's just loads of options you select, and then they give you text, and then you don't really know what you're doing. Like, if you have to adjust to it very quickly. And I was just like, the moment I started playing it, I'm like, you know what? No. Press the PlayStation button, delete the game. I don't need this. I will play something better. Because the Dragon Ball Fighters beta was on at the same time. So I'm just like, I'm going to play that because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's a good example when like a demo or a beta just dumps you in there, and there's no explanation for anything.
Yeah.
It's just go do the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, but how?
Or if there's
What's
no
the-
easy mode, that's always what bugs me, because I
Like-
like to really slowly learn a game and have fun playing instead of being really challenged, because I'm not very good with control, like fine motor skills.
I feel like they design a lot of that stuff for people who've played the games already. Like for me, like with Dissidia, I played the PlayStation, the PSP version, but that was like a decade ago, and I barely remember how I did it back then. And now you're suddenly telling me, "Oh, remember this game from like a decade ago? Learn how to play that again." Like, no, I don't. I don't remember anything, and it's a whole new system now. Like, what are you doing?
So, but yeah, that's a nice intro for when Janneke returns to our podcast. It was very lovely to have you here.
Yay!
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you on board.
Good talks. Good talks.
I thought it was really fun. I'm really
Yeah.
happy.
Well, that's good to know. It was your first time podcasting, right?
Yes. So
Well, you did. You're podding like a pro.
You are.
yay!
And with that, I do think it's time to wrap up. So let's start with our guest first. Janneke, where can people find you if you want to be found?
I don't think I'm findable very much. I mean, sadly, I'm on Twitter as Citizen Soon.
All right. And Simone, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Madame Plumpette.
Excellent. What about you, Owen?
It's at Owen Mason, EoinMason.
Excellent. You can find me over on Twitter at BadassBurger, and you can find the GeekAut podcast over at GeekAut Official on Twitter, as well as Facebook and Twitch. We don't have a topic yet for next week, but we will let you know in due time. Maybe we'll do a poll again. We'll see. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, you can send them over. Please ask them on our Facebook, on Twitter. Again, thank you for listening, and see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.